Welcome to the fastest show in football. I'm Matt Ryan. Let's get in motion with week one. It was Octane taking on the Hawks, and the Hawks would have Delron Simmons, the new running back for this team. A huge showing here. We'll talk about him more in a moment. A tip ball would lead to a Rico LeBron interception for the Indianapolis Octane to keep things 0-0. And then it would be this run from Delron Simmons to set things up. Watch the block here from Cory Hammond. Simmons would set the seam and find his way 44 yards to the house to score the first points of the season for the Hawks. But then Grant Weatherford of the Octane would track this ball down, but the defensive line of the Hawks would giveth, and the Octane would taketh away as Jaden Miles would find his way around, bouncing off defenders to set up a big opportunity. We see it here, the Hawks defensive line not able to get Miles down as he would set the score 8-6. But then another run from Delron Simmons. You see the legs pumping, you see him moving. We called him Halado Jones for a reason. He reminds us so much of Donnell Hubert, the ice cream truck. 197 yards from him on the day. But Weatherford, at a walk-off at halftime, would take the lead for the Octane, but then we would go later in the third quarter. Cory Hammond throwing that one off, but then to Bebo for the touchdown. He'd get it back to Bebo on the extra point for the backstack after the penalty. They would be going for one from the 2.5-yard line. Bebo searching, and then getting past Weatherford, throwing it no look, making it look easy as the Hawks would take and keep the lead. A big play there, a big opportunity, and Amir Morris, who set records in the playoffs for his interceptions, would close it out for Old Bridge, and they would lock it in 21-13. The QC Crush and the Silk City Animals for the first time in the season. The first play from scrimmage, Manny Diaz getting the ball from David Tender not once, but again here on third down. Diaz from Tender. That's a tutty, 6-0, Silk City Animals. A big day for David Tender. You look here in the pocket, getting a little bit of help from the offensive line, but moving around like a figure skater out there or like a point guard, has all the time in the world to get that ball to Manny Diaz, making it 6-0 in our game of the week. And then Tender one more time. He'd say, okay, skate around, toss it, got it. Getting it 8-0, an early lead, and then Tender one more time, just skating around out there on his bicycle, gets the ball to Papa Smurf, but watch out, he smurfs up and the ball comes loose, and the QC Crush would try to turn things around, but they would not be able to get points on the board. And then David Tender's like, okay, I'm just going to bring it in myself. Slip slide, takes it to the house to make it a 2-score lead to close out the first quarter. And a little bit of a dance there from David Tender. They would increase the lead, but Keno Thomas would make his way in the second quarter to play behind center. The impressive third-year player. We've seen him highlight in Cincinnati before. He trying to make an opportunity here, leading with the Crush, but they were not able to score. All push to get into the goal line to make it 20-0. But Jeff Botts, with 1:09 left to go in the half, would find his way cutting through the defense of that Silk City return team. And for the first time in 2025, we say bye-bye as Jeff Botts would put points on the board, make it 20-6. He would get injured later in the game. Our best to him, but this is the only score of the third quarter as LaPera of the secondary for the Animals would find his way, making it downtown, tossing it back, and Amatrice Hall couldn't stop that one. 26-6 was the score, but here was another opportunity. Keno Thomas on a keeper, trying to make it 26-12, and it would be your final 38-12 as the Animals here with Kwani Morgan would shut the door. Our final game of the games of the week would see SickWidIt and their new quarterback Kenyon Stone King show up and show out. This is the extra point when we joined action live this past Sunday in week one A big effort here from the offense of SickWidIt, brand new quarterback in Kenyon Stone King, and he would set up for a big day as they would walk out against the Hunters 50-12. Just watch the offense here. Big ball deep, bang, slip, slide, sun setting, as it was fear and loathing for the Hunters as they would take the fall 50-12 in our matchup between the SickWidIt and the Hunters. Sick got the bye. We'll see them in Week 3 on Games of the Week. Hunters taking on the Silver State Stealth. And then we go to Asbury Park as the BIC and the Renegades. Sterry Codrington denied it the one. The defending MVP would kick it to the ice cream truck. He'd keep it, carry it, and cross the goal line. The fumble would not count. It would be 7-0 after the extra. But Anthony Service not extra to that pass to Matt Jackson. Wide open like the end zone, tying it up with the extra 7-7. Sterry Codrington, though, on a 40-yard connection, he won't be deterred. He chucks it to the superstar to take the lead back 13-7. No extra points scored there later on in the second. Service getting it to Kyle Ward, a man who has haunted the BIC for nearly as long as both have existed in the A7FL. A big play there, but Ward would set up Service, who'd keep it on first down, and he'd glide, he'd stride into the end zone 39 yards to make it 13-13. The BIC would score, but on the next Renegade drive, you'd think that they'd answer? Do you know if they're going to answer? Of course they answered. Service would step up in the pocket, glide to his left, and once again, this time from 40 yards, just an extra yard, would glide to the house and tie this one up 19-19, and that is how things would stay up until the fourth quarter. The start of the fourth quarter, Sterry Codrington would throw one more time to the superstar who was open in the end zone as they would take the lead. But folks, you want to wait, because this game continues to get nuts. 25-19 was the score. DeAndre Haynes over 50 yards from Service. The big man over 6'6". The tight end, the biggest target in the A7FL, gets a tutty, but on the extra point, the Renegades would take the lead, however so slight, through Kyle Ward catching the extra point, making it 26-25. Later in the fourth, Sterry Codrington would keep it. He'd bounce off the ice cream truck. The ball would stay live, and they would lock it in and retake the lead 31-26. But on a two-point attempt through two crossing defenders, Codrington to Worthy, it would be 33-26. But as we got deeper into the fourth quarter, next Renegades possession, Service and the Renegades continued to ride against this BIC defense as Kyle Ward in the corner, getting it right into the end zone, tying things up in a big game, getting the touchdown, making it 32-33, trying to tie it on the very next play. Service with the game on the line. 4:27 left to go. He'd keep it. He'd run right in, pulling a Sterry Codrington, making it 33-33 in this epic matchup in Week 1. In overtime, it'd be Trey Robinson as we fight in their Texas shootout rules. He crosses the goal line to give them the 39-33 lead. But when it comes to the extra point, it would be Codrington taking it in, tossing it to the ice cream truck, and giving them 40 points. The 40 boys are back, but on the Renegades' possession in overtime, it would be Kyle Ward one more time, haunting the BIC, running right into the end zone, breaking down the secondary. But on the extra point attempt, the East Orange Renegades could not hold on as they'd fly off the saddle and lose 40-39. Codrington 18 for 34, 276 yards. Service 12 for 15, 257 yards and 3 tutties. But speaking of tutties, the defending national champion Insomniacs, they put on a show in the desert. They turned the heat up as we turned things up to 11. They were up 36-0 at the beginning of the second quarter, not even halfway through. And they were not halfway through what they were going to do as they continue to turn the heat up on the gold as they tried to melt those bricks as Scooter Hamilton right into the end zone, making it look easy as this would be a continuous big run here. Slip, slide all the way to the house. It was an impressive offensive display from Wilkerson, Scooter Hamilton, and the rest. Just watch this. Bing, bang, bang, right into the end zone as the champs would win 78-0. Let's take a look at across the league. The U would walk out of DC with the win 38-14 over the Buzz, and the Baltimore Watchmen start their season undefeated with a 30-12 win over the new Virginia Heathens. Looking around the A7FL in Week 2, the Hawks will take on the Virginia Heathens. The Renegades will battle the Octane in Baltimore. It's the Watchmen and the Buzz. The Animals battle the Paterson U. The Trenton BIC travel to Cincinnati to battle the Crush. And in the desert, we see the Silver State Stealth in action as they battle the Hunters. And then the Vegas Gold will battle SickWidIt in our 4 p.m. game out in Vegas. For more information on that, go to A7FL.com. When we come back, I'll be joined by Cory Hammond as we take a look around the A7FL, go through hot takes, and preview Week 2 of the A7FL season, and a whole lot more when we're back with A7FL in motion. Are you watching the A7FL and want to bring the future of football to your hometown? Head to A7FL.com/owners now and learn how you can bring the longest-running spring football league to markets across the United States. Whether you're in Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, NYC, or on the beaches of Miami, the time is now to get an A7FL division. Head to A7FL.com/owners to bring your team to your town in 2024. Pro football is a sport of evolution, from the I formation into the Wildcat, and from the 3-4 into the 4-3 and then the 46. But much like MySpace, it stopped evolving in like 2008. We at the A7FL have not only evolved the game of football, but streamlined it. Why? We want a faster, more explosive, and more exciting game for our fans and our players. We also wanted a safer game, so our players can step onto the field and ensure that they are at less of a risk for major head or neck injuries. Now you're asking yourself, hey, loud dude on the internet, how? Well, if you were patient, I'd have gotten to that already. The rules for the A7FL are pretty simple. First off, we play 7-on-7 football. Makes the game more wide open and sets up for big plays like this. Next up, no helmets or pads. While some of you may cringe at that, studies have shown that playing without helmets or pads limits a player from leading with their head on plays and forces the players to embrace wrap tackling. Then, we have no kicking or punting in the A7FL. We're for the brand and all, and if you've ever played football at any level, you know finding a good kicker or a punter is like finding a needle in the haystack, if that haystack was the size of New Jersey. Also, we're playing on a 100-yard field, but narrower. We're scaling it down because it's 7-on-7 football, and we want it to be a great game, but we don't want those defenders getting lost out there. We also have 4 15-minute quarters. That, much like any B.I.G. album, is the standard, and we're not changing. Next up is no snap from the center to the quarterback. How many times have we seen a center botch a snap or a quarterback have the football fly over his head? We want our offensive linemen to protect the quarterback and do their job as only they can. Now we have the most exciting play in football, the 3-on-1. We have 3 defenders, 1 returner, and the chance to see someone take it back to the house or be lit up like a Christmas tree. But folks, the 3-on-1s are safer and more exciting than your traditional kick return. No gunners, no crackback blocks, and more open field. Welcome back to A7FL in motion. I'm Matt Ryan, and I'm joined by, well, an undefeated quarterback in 2025, Cory Hammond, the quarterback of the Old Bridge Hawks, and also one of the voices you'll hear on the A7FL Games of the Week. Cory, congratulations on the win. We talked about it earlier in the program during the highlights, but you guys are 1-0. We'll talk about your game with the coming up a little bit later on with the Virginia Heathens in our next segment, but we got hot takes to run through, my friend. I got them up right here. Let's run through them. The first hot take coming in: the Trenton BIC will not be in the A7FL championship game. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a rush to judgment. I think a lot of people are not looking at the factual evidence in front of them. The 0-7 Renegades of last year do not exist. This new Renegades team that brought BIC to overtime is huge on the offensive line, aggressive on the defensive line, and has playmakers all over the field. BIC struggling to get a victory, which is still a victory, does not mean or preclude them from having success this season. They did figure it out and it didn't look perfect, but walking out of week one, as I know now, walking out of week one with a victory is extremely important in the A7FL. They got the job done. Whether they like the style points or not, I don't think matters towards the end of the season. I think the hot take is that the hot take artists are wrong on this one, for sure.
And I'm inclined to agree with you. This Renegades team's really stepped up. Anthony's service was 12 for 15. That's an insane number in terms of accuracy, going up against any defense, let alone the defending Eastern Conference champions. This Renegades team has stepped up, and the BIC in week one have not always been a perfectly working machine. They're a team week two, week three, we really start to see them turn out. And scoring 40 points for an offense in week one, especially late, going up against a team looking to play spoiler, it shows their resolve, shows the veteran leadership, and I'm excited to see what they do against the Crush this Sunday when they make their way to Cincinnati. But let's move on, talking about the team that they're going to be playing this Sunday. The QC Crush will be a top 5 team in the A7FL. That's one big hot take coming out of their game this past Sunday with the Silk City Animals.
Not sure if that's set in stone or not, one way or the other. I think the QC Crush have a lot to figure out and prove. But whoever's making that claim after seeing what happened Sunday against the Animals, the QC Crush do have a lot of talent, and they have leadership that hopefully will right the ship. But what I saw was a team that still didn't know their identity, that was still figuring out how they want to play football. And like you guys said on the broadcast, one of the biggest mistakes was starting their season with their goal line quarterback, thinking that a goal line package was going to substitute for a successful offensive set. Now, Keno Thomas did what he could to salvage. Their defense was trying their best to hold back an Animals offense that is, very many times that we've seen them, electric. I wouldn't throw them in the trash just yet, but I would temper expectations of them being a top 5 national team just based solely on what we saw week one from them.
This one has a lot of weight heading into the next 2 weeks. The East Orange Renegades and the Silk City Animals will beat a defending or former A7FL champion this season.
Well, I think the only one on their regular season schedule would be either BIC or the U. Now, I am impressed by the Renegades team, but I think after losing week one and some of the rumors that I hear about week two, we have to question a little bit the integrity and the seriousness that these guys that make up the TMU flag culture brought by Service, the quarterback, and company in their commitment to the A7FL for the Renegades. But the Animals, taking care of the Crush is impressive, especially going out to Indianapolis, something that I know a little bit about, and making sure that the guys were there, the guys were ready, and the guys were executing the game plan. And David Tender is a big reason why that worked. I will give credit to a lot of the other role players that played a huge part in that game. But are the Animals ready to beat the U or BIC? Time will tell. I think if either of those two teams do so, it will be a great moment for the league. But a lot of football's left to play, and a lot of things are left to prove for both of those squads as we head into week two.
And when we return here on A7FL in Motion, we will focus on that Animals versus U matchup and also the Heathens taking on the Hawks as we break down our games of the week on A7FL in Motion. Are you watching the A7FL and want to bring the future of football to your hometown? Head to a7fl.com/owners now and learn how you can bring the longest-running spring football league to markets across the United States. Whether you're in Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, NYC, or on the beaches of Miami, the time is now to get an A7FL division. Head to a7fl.com/owners to bring your team to your town in 2024.
Well, Amir Morris-Chick was huge in Sunday's game. Not only his actual performance as the athlete, but as the leader in the back end, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But what Chick found out in Indy was that certain plays, certain situations opened up vulnerabilities for the Hawks defense. At halftime, Chick, also Euro Kenyatta, and Mir Morris, and in the second half, shut out an Octane team that was running on full 98 Octane in the first half at times. So not only is his play on the field huge, but his leadership was just as big. And you look at his offensive stats, 3 catches, 30 yards, doesn't tell the whole story. He was double teamed most of the game, which opened up, the touchdown for Bebo, our first offensive touchdown in the second half. But more importantly, he led the way as a blocker for our 2 running backs, Zuriel Wright, but Halado Jones, aka his real name, Delron Simmons, who had 11 rushes for 197 yards. And it was an easy decision to choose to turn around and hand the ball off to him based on his performance and his ability. In the offseason, when we were practicing and getting things together, kind of putting the roster together, he immediately jumped out at practice as somebody that we were going to be able to use and use very well. So against the Virginia Heathens, which is the team that we're facing, they're going to be looking how to stop our running backs. We're going to be looking how to improve and build off of our performance week 1. And that, I think, is going to be the chess match in our 1 o'clock games of the week on that side of the ball.
Our second game of the week sees the Battle of Paterson as David Tender and the Silk City Animals battle Quattrell Huffin and the Paterson U, a quarterback matchup, Cory, that we have been looking forward to since the schedule was announced for 2025.
Well, a lot has progressed for the Animals since their kind of breakout performance in the 2024 campaign. A losing effort to the Paterson U, but a very impressive effort. I didn't call that game. I think you and Rob were all over that game. And every time the U looked to kind of supplant their dominance and take over the game and kind of just step on the throats of the Animals pulled a counter, reversed it, and then they would answer back with a big play of their own. And that was their welcoming to the league moment for guys like David Tender, guys like Manny Diaz. And it's been a long time, and a lot of football has been played since. So this is a totally different Animals team. They're coming in extremely confident. And if they were able to get the output that they did, 12 hours away in Indianapolis, I think that coming back home cooking, sleeping in your own bed, and then getting to the field to play against Paterson U, they'll be ready, they'll be prepared, and they'll probably put on their best performance. The U is going to continue to be a group of unselfish veterans that shares the responsibility of being the star player. I think it starts with Quattrell Huffin, whose style is more of a point guard than he is a dominant ball controlling quarterback that only gives his guys opportunities when he's already succeeding. But it's getting to the point where there's going to have to be a new wave of U player, and Sadiq Pitts might be one of those guys that steps up. But for me, it's been a guy that's been on the borderline of stardom for at least 4 years now, because he popped off of the screen in their last championship victory against BIC in 2022, and that's Cory Mims. I think what the U should do is have their offense feature around finding Cory Mims in open space and give him opportunities at long touchdowns, because nobody throws a better deep ball than Quattrell Huffin in our league, and not a lot of guys in this league are going to stay stride for stride with Cory Mims. So if they're able to get that type of field stretching touchdown, it will open up the underneath routes for all the other guys and the lanes for the running backs. And for me, the U come into this game not the underdog, but I think overlooked. And that's a really dangerous place to put a team that has as many, if not more, championships than any other team in existence of this league, especially with their quarterback in rare form in week 2 in our games of the week of 4.
The stage is set. All we can do now is wait for the start of Week 2 of the A7FL, and if you want to be a part of the action live or on demand, all you have to do is go to a7fl.com/watch. That's a7fl.com/watch to find out how you can watch us and be a part of the A7FL every single week. For Cory, Hammond, I'm Matt Ryan saying so long, farewell, and we'll see you on the field for Week 2. Are you watching the A7FL and want to bring the future of football to your hometown? Head to a7fl.com/owners now and learn how you can bring the longest-running spring football league to markets across the United States. Whether you're in Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, NYC, or on the beaches of Miami, the time is now to get an A7FL division. Head to a7fl.com/owners to bring your team to your town in 2024.